I wanted to make this video to uh, basically compliment Corey Anton for finally making a demarcation line about the central theme of his channel. This is a group channel. And the reason that's so important is because it makes inclusive the methodological rule a stasis of behavior to occur within that channel, where before it was kind of open. As channel itself, although it spoke of subject matters that were vulnerable, the channel itself was vulnerable to such attacks or antics or contrivances that I was able to orchestrate. And all of this is important, I think, because it, having the name Professor Anton as an MO, and having a channel that denotes all accolades and all everything put forth, takes on an authoritarian air to it, and that authoritarian air seemed to be emitted by the processes of Corey Anton. Now that particular air, at least to me, was indicative of a particular type of stasis. Now, having a and this makes a distinction between what I would say is communal language versus public language. A communal language sets up a normative stasis of behavior. It's like YouTube's terms of service. In one way, it's a known but not spoken of rule that becomes a normative behavior, and it itself is policed. It's like a static pond. It's like the shoreline around a static pond, and the pond itself, the surface tension, remains stable. Now, that's communal language. It's internal. The dialogue is internalized. Now, public language. See, I have an art background, so I'm presenting things. I'm dropping artifacts around and about. And public language would be like to say you're walking alone on a road and you see a stop sign in the road. That stop sign can still imbue meaning upon you. Public language is a series of artifacts. It doesn't allow, or it doesn't have the required normative value on it, because there is no necessary community. It'd be like if you were stranded on a deserted island. You still have the inherited structures or the inherited language inside of your head to mull over, but you don't have the community at hand in which to reassert your considerations or to validate your considerations. So there is community, communal language, which is having peer review, it's having interaction, it's having, as opposed to speaking about tools at hand or things in a tactile sense, let me make a metaphor to saying community at hand. You have another individual to reassert what it is you're asserting, to follow what it is you're starting, to eat what you're serving, so to speak, where public language allows for artifacting, and it allows for culture and community. It's not to say that public language is primacy. It's to say that there's a difference of consideration between communal language and public language. Public language allows a violence against stasis. It allows the pebble to be dropped on the surface of the pond, through the surface of the pond. It allows a rupture, an upheaval, a piercing, a puncture. I'll say that communal language, Corey Anton would be like a tree inside of a tree, inside of the phloem of a tree, going up and down through the history, trying to cite source, working layer upon layer throughout the history, where I'll say public language is like the air that, public airs that are about a tree. And that the airs about the tree can flip leaves around and branches around and bump into the tree and even start chopping into the tree. And so there is a distinction, and so the distinction I would say, I guess, is that communal language is having a community at hand, where public language is always having a community yet to be at hand, or to say a community that is not yet at hand. And this is an important distinction, because it brings up divisions or considerations of individuation or individuation, and because from Professor Anton's scope, to see the community as the background for all individuals, in one way, paradoxes one's sensing themselves as an individual apart from community. Wittgenstein argues that language is public. Communications professors are going to argue that language is communally based. We could say, like Derrida, he expresses the stasis as an external telos that becomes static about us. It's the thrust of language that becomes a normative behavior that we're not always aware of until we sense a violation or a piercing of. And I guess my MO as dospook is to spook, or is to scramble or violate, or oftentimes I've come on with the notion of coming at something in order to disrupt its regular methodology. This is not meant in terms of malice, and Corey and I have exchanged some back channel communication, so I think we're on good footing with each other now. I just wanted to make this distinction. And check out Piano is the Remedy's response to the Matrix Shrek ideas put forth by Corey Anton, and I'll go ahead and link that in the side. What else can I say about this? The notion of gradualism as opposed to punctuated equilibrium. Stephen Jay Gould, if Darwin creates evolution that is a gradation over time, Stephen Jay Gould tries to describe speciation's occurrence in terms of punctuated equilibrium, cotemporal occurrences. And I guess that's why I don't believe that language is sourced back to any particular individual. It can be. It's just that I don't believe that it is. And this is an interesting paradox. Derrida will break down in deconstruction binaries. That you have life and death, and that life is a particular type of death. And so to say that death is primacy to life. You'll hear Corey talk about, well, we're all dying together. In the same respect, there is a distinction between public language, or language as public, and language as communal. And I'm not certain which one I would say collapses as primacy. In one way, I would argue that it is community. But I would say the mere fact that artists can artifact into language, that are phonic, that I can start in a phonic babble and turn it into a musical tone. I can say the word hum, or I can hum the word hum into free tempo. This isn't dissimilar to a painting that says this is not a pipe, or a painting that has the number 5 on it. It imbues a meaning, but it can be re-abstracted. It can be individuated. It can be placed outward as artifact, and that artifact could be considered to be warlike. I'll leave everything there and see what kind of feedback. By the way, I really appreciate everyone's feedback on the exchange and the sort. Thanks.